Only mode.
Hello and welcome to our webinar on GData client installation within our latest version 14. I think we are a little bit early, so we'll just wait a minute or two before we get started. One or two things in advance. You can find the handout to this presentation within the handout section of the panel. Also, you can find our full reference guide on version 14 in which all those details that are shown here in this webinar will be presented as well. The webinar will be recorded, so you will also receive a link to download the webinar in the next few hours after we finish the presentation. So, it's 2 p.m. I'll say we'll just get started. If there are any questions, feel free to ask them. I will have a look at them and answer them as soon as possible. Okay, let's dive in. So, we have a few things that we have to look upon since we have several deployment scenarios that might be possible and are depending on if you want to perform a clean installation, if you have an upgrade, if you want to upgrade an older version of the GData software to the latest version, if you have certain restrictions or policies that you have adhered to given the company you're working for or the customer you're working for, or if the infrastructure is limited or has certain features that need to be adhered to or must be planned with. Of course, this cannot fully cover all the topics that might appear in the real world, as said. So I will just cover the basics within the deployment of the software. In general, I would recommend if you have a fully new situation or a fully new network that needs to be protected, you should first try a trial deployment within the network to see if there are any kind of issues or if there are problems during the installation or the deployment of the client. And also the testing environment should cover the actual deployment environment, since if you're rolling out the whole system on a trial deployment area and it covers only maybe a fifth of the actual environment or only a fifth of all devices that are within the network, you might run into trouble if you actually roll out the actual deployment. If you have questions regarding the installation of the version 14 client, we are currently offering several white papers, tech papers, and the reference guide. That should be the first thing you should look into. But also, if you have further questions regarding the installation, feel free to contact our support team. They are available via email and telephone 24 hours, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. The support is of course free of charge for our customers, and we also offer an English speaking support. Furthermore, we are offering an optional premium support in which you have guaranteed response times and in which highly specialized experts will take care of your requests. If you're interested in this one, you can feel free to request an offer from us that might be suitable for you. Heading on to the preparation. The actual deployment environment should actually be, of course, up to date. That's the most important thing. If you're running an outdated system, you might run into trouble anyway because it is an outdated system, and of course we are requiring certain things within our latest version that need to be up to date to work properly. Also, the environment should be malware-free and it should meet the minimum system requirements. As you can see, the minimum system requirements might differ according which client you are actually trying to roll out. Of course, the GData Security client itself runs on all the current Windows operating systems and also Windows Vista Service Pack 1 and Windows XP Service Pack 3, 32-bit only. Also, the current version of the server operating systems, Server 2012, 2008, and 2003. All in common are the minimum requirement of at least 1 GB of RAM. Otherwise, you might run into performance issues. The client for Linux and Mac and Android. I've shortened the actual list of all the Linux distributions because there is a really long list which Linux distributions are actually covered from our software. So these are the general distributions that are well available with our client. You can find the full list of all the distributions within the reference guide. And also the GData client for Mac should at least run on a system that has Mac OS X 10.6 or higher. Same goes for the Android version. It should be at least Android version 4.0 or higher. So, after we have covered the environment preparation, there are a few things regarding third-party software, especially that other security software solutions should be uninstalled before installing our client, as well as that you should uninstall incompatible software like certain registry boosters or registry cleaners, performance boosters, programs like that, which might run into trouble with our software. And also that other software that might cause issues should be deactivated. And after we have covered this, we can take the next step. So, the first step to enable our clients would be within our management server. There are three possible ways to do this. First way would be synchronizing the Active Directory within the management server using the server setup wizard. The second option would be manually adding the PCs that you want to install our client on by adding the name or the IP address. Or if you don't know the name or the IP address, you could also find them with our search option. After you've enabled the client, you can find all enabled clients within the overview. I've decided to pick out the client with the name 10.15.14.3 within the list. I've right-clicked on this client and selected Install GData Security Client to start the remote installation of this client on this PC. Afterwards, you will be asked to enter the username and the password who has access right on this client, preferably the administrator, of course. Next step would be selecting the language in which the client should be installed. And finally, you should see in the installation overview that the installation was completed successfully, and to finalize the installation, the client or the PC needs to be rebooted. You can, of course, also use the full version 14 setup to install the client on each PC by starting the setup file and clicking on the option GData Security Client. That starts a wizard to install the software. It's pretty similar to the regular installation of the management server or any kind of other security feature within GData. Third option to install the version 14 Windows client would be to create an installation package which can be used for internal networks via our management console. You can find it within organization, and as you can see, the red arrow points it out, create installation package for Windows clients. You will see this window appearing next on your screen to create the installation package. You can set the management server that this client should contact first with the given name ID 666. The given language, you can also select a certain group this client should be grouped within, and also limit the validity of this client so the client is actually activated after rolling out to 30 days, but you can also expand this. Next step would be that you will be asked to select the storage selection or the localization you want to copy this installation package to. And after you've selected the location, you will see these windows, and finally the client package will be created with this icon. Moving on to our GData Security client for Linux and Mac. A few general requirements that you have to plan with would be that on both systems there must be an installed and running SSH server. Also you need a password-based authentication and root logins must be allowed, and also the DNS name resolution must be enabled both on the management server and of course the client. All those configuration options you can typically find within this path I've included, sshd_config. And one additional thing to prevent unauthorized access to the management server from the client side as you need to authorize this client before they are fully served from the management server. The recommended way to install the client would be the remote installation. It is actually pretty similar as we have already covered with our Windows client. You select the client you want to install the program on, right-click, and select the option Install GData Security Client for Linux Mac. In this case, you've selected the client type, client for Linux, in which you can see that there are also a few plugins that you can additionally install, given if you want to run a send, mail, or postfix server on this client. You can find actual details on how to differ between those things within the reference guide. But you also have to enter the account that has root permissions. And as you can see, this should be the window you should see at the end that the installation has been completed successfully. Of course, you can also create an installation script similar to the Windows client. Most of the windows that will appear are similar, but there's a big difference compared to the Windows clients, that you can not actually change the given values of the management server, the language that should be installed, the group, or an expiry date. This option is not available within the Linux or client, Linux or Mac client. Sorry. Next step would be to select the storage, select location again, and in the end, the installation script will be created. On the client itself, you first need to add permission to execute this installation script. This is usually performed via the command line by entering the command chmod +x install_client.sh. Next up would be to elevate the user status by using SEO. Also, you can execute the installation command with sudo. Next step would be to navigate to the folder in which you have copied the installation script and execute this script. There are a few parameters that need to be covered in here. So there are 5 different things that might appear. So if you want to install all the additional modules, you just type in the product parameter all. WS if you only want to install the security client for Linux. SMB for the Samba module. Mavis if you want to install or perform the send, mail, or postfix module, and web if you only want to install the Squid module. This might sound a little bit complicated at first, so I've decided to actually include a small example. Please note that the command spaces I've listed here have been expanded for a better visibility. Otherwise, it might be hard to read during the presentation itself. So as you can see, I have the typical command is /install -client.sh. Next up would be the type of installation, prerequisiting this -t command. In this case, I've selected WS, SMB, and a Mavis. The next option would be the client name that should be displayed within the management server. I've decided to keep the installation name similar to the client I've already had before, so I've set with this 10.50.14.3 as we have listed it before within the management server. -s would be the net BIOS name of the management server, And the last option would be this -R, that would be the path to the repository files if they have not been already installed on the client. You can see details under these repository files within our tech papers or the reference guide. If there are actual problems during this installation process, you can check the logs for more information. It's actually pretty much self-explanatory, but if there are issues, feel free to contact us anytime. Okay, next step would be the remote installation for our Mac client. Pretty much similar to the installation as we have covered before. We've selected the client we want to install the client on. Use the option install GData client for Linux or Mac. This time we select as a client type only the client for Mac. Enter the username, of course, with the root permissions, and the installation overview should display in the end that the installation has been completed successfully. Same goes for our installation script. We select organization, create installation script for Linux and Mac clients. The values cannot be changed, as I've already said before. It will have the given values from the management server by default. You select the storage location and create the same installation script. Now on the client itself, you also have to add permission to execute this created installation script. It's a little bit different on the Mac. You also use the command line chmod +x install_client.sh. You open the terminal and elect the user status. Navigate to the folder and execute the script. The big difference is that the only product parameter in this case would be WS, so it would be only, since there are no plugins available or additional plugins available on the Mac client itself, you can only install the client itself. And also I've included an example in here. In this case I've just said sudo install client.sh-t. Like I already said, the only product parameter that can be used within here is WS. -c is again the given name that should be displayed within the management server. -s, ID666, is the NetBIOS name of the server, and -r would be the installation or the path to the repository files if they not have already been downloaded or are also available by default. Moving on to the next step would be the installation of our Android client. The installation is initiated from the GData Administrator Console itself, and the deployment process is actually carried out via email. So the only thing that you have to look after is that the unknown sources must be enabled within the Android settings. Within the security options, you should find this option with the unknown sources. You have to check this box, and afterwards you can install this APK file. In this case I've also included a small Example how to do this: you just send the installation to those mobile clients. You will receive 2 links within the recipient's email. The first link would be to download the actual installer APK file, and the second link that you have to click on will enable a remote management, so the management server can actually remote administer the client on the Android device. Installation process is pretty simple as well. The Windows client can be uninstalled via the GData administrator, also via command line locally, and also via setup file. The option to unclient.exe, the former installation of the client, is no longer available in version 14, so this option has been dropped. Linux and Mac client can be uninstalled via the GData administrator and also via command line on the terminal. And also the Android client can be uninstalled via the administrator and the app manager locally on that Android device that you want to uninstall the program on. You can find all the details I've covered so far within our reference guide version 14 within chapter 4.8, pages 35 and following. And this actually brings us to the end of our webinar.